Hello everyone, hope you're having a great day wherever you are. Now today there's quite many news on crypto, so let's just dive into it. First, we have, can Litecoin overthrow Ethereum and claim third position in 2019? So this is very interesting. At the time of recording, overall crypto is seeing a mini rally, and that's really welcoming after quite a few months of a lot of winter and coldness, right? So, but what is most interesting is now that Litecoin is actually at the fourth spot, even above EOS, Bitcoin Cash, and Tether, right? And now there is a question to say that, can Litecoin even overtake Ethereum at number 3 spot? And just note, right? Because Litecoin is now at 2.7 billion almost, and Ethereum is almost double that at 12.5 billion, right? And for Litecoin market cap to overtake Ethereum, each Litecoin has to be about $200. That means about 5 times increase from its current value of $44 times the 60 million units, then it will get to over 12.5 million Ethereum, and assuming Ethereum doesn't move, right? Now that's not impossible, because the previous all-time high for Litecoin is actually about 360. So for it to go up to $200, which is half of that all-time high, may not be too, it is possible, right? It is not impossible. And it's not unthinkable. And then also Moon Overlord, right, via a tweet has also said that there's another possible good news for Litecoin, which is we are close to the 200 days away from its halving, the reward halving. And in previous trend, the prices normally increase about 200 days before its halving. So it's all good news for Litecoin. And of course, Litecoin is making the news lately after being quiet for a long time, right? That they are now in talks with Beam team to use their Mimblewimble to enhance its privacy nature. So that gives it another differentiation. And of course, they also have been sponsoring a lot of the boxing fighting championship lately. So that gives them a lot of credibility and also marketing as well. Next, there's a noise in the market now, or among the Bitcoin development community, that says proposal to increase Bitcoin's 21 million supply sparks debate. It's actually started off from someone called Matt Longo, who said that he actually, being the bad guy, he actually raised the proposal that one day we may need to raise the Bitcoin supply cap of 21 million. Now, the reason he gave for that is because he said that if we don't raise the supply, basically then the mining reward will be very less, because with less and less coins coming into new production, there will be less incentives for to entice people to actually spend their computing power to produce new Bitcoin, and that is why he thinks that it should be then increased. And his proposal is then introduce a low inflation rate to Bitcoin once the block reward gets too low. But then the problem is that the 21 million cap is a very fundamental characteristics of Bitcoin, right? Limiting its supply and hence give it the scarcity and hence gives it the value. And it is the hope that people will continue maintaining that computing power, because, right, as long as the Bitcoin continue to increase in its intrinsic value, then as long as you have any Bitcoin, you will be then rewarded. My take is also then there will be people who just want to maintain that network because you want to have a coin that is truly censorship resistant and is truly non-inflationary, right? So my take is definitely not to increase the supply cap. Then so if anyone can arbitrarily increase the supply of something, then what is the difference with today's fiat money, right? That just like any government that can increase the supply just like that, right? So yeah, so good thing is a lot of the Bitcoin luminaries, including Next Sabo also, and many others have basically come and say no, right? They don't agree with these suggestions. Binance chain is getting closer to launch, will support delegated proof of stake, says CEO Changping Zhao, or CZ. So DPoS, or delegated proof of stake, what it means is that basically they use a voting system where stakeholders, right, that means people who stake their tokens, and people who have large stakes of their tokens can then outsource their work to a third party. So the people who have the power, so they will be voted by delegates, right? And then they will be the witness, and then they will make sure that the consensus is managed. That means that they ensure that the transaction is validated. Now, this model is definitely very cost savings, and this is one of the models undertaken by a few coins also, including Tron. And this can ensure the speediness of the transaction processing power. And yeah, so now that they have announced more details, because in a very recent live stream by CZ, he said his new network called Binance Chain is going to be launched soon. And how they're going to earn the revenue is that any projects that are going to launch on this network will be charged a fee, and they will pay about 100,000 to list their tokens. And anytime they want to trade on their platform, they also have to pay a small fee to Binance. So this is how they can diversify their revenue, and that's why no surprise that Binance Coin, right, has increased in prices very recently. So yeah, then on the decentralized exchange, he also started giving out more details on how many nodes or how many validators. So in the beginning, it's still not truly decentralized because the number of validators will be only about 11 and is mainly concentrated in Binance ecosystem only. But over time, he see that will be increased, and with more adoption, more people will come in and be validated. But he think that will still take time. So yeah, I guess it's a right step in the direction, right? And it's also good for him to give more clarity and transparency on their projects. So Ripple South Asia Director Banks said banks' interest in XRP and Ripple saw rapid improvements in 2018. So MD for South Asia and MENA region, Nevin Gupta, talked about how Ripple is currently expanding in these regions. So during a conversation with the Asian banker a few days ago, he said that there are a few high street banks ready to join the network in the near future. Firstly, Asian Banker is a very, very prominent banking publication. Then there are, out of the 200 financial institutions that join their network, 50% or half of them is from Asia. So that's really, really good news because Asia is the growth of the region, definitely. So that's definitely very good for XRP, yeah, because Asia is going to be the future economic powerhouse, so you cannot ignore it. Next, SEC Commissioner Jackson thinks regulator will approve BTC ETF, leaked interview shows. So a Bitcoin ETF will most likely ultimately gain approval from US. This is from a leaked interview. So yeah, so who said that? It was by Robert J. Jackson Jr. is an SEC's only Democratic commissioner, said despite a string of rejections of ETF applications last year, the practice will ultimately change. And he said, eventually, do I think someone will satisfy the standards we have laid out there? I hope so, yes. And I think so. Now, the sentence, I think so, is the key that why the community or the news report, they basically say that an ETF will come soon. Yesterday, also, we had a report that Brian Kelly from CNBC think that an ETF will come, but in 2020. And that sounds just about right? Because this year will be all about the regulators putting very clear regulations on crypto. And then also you have them backed to be launched this year and expected to be March, right? But who knows, yeah? Until they have given a firm launch date, then we can be more clear. But otherwise, it's going to be this year. And then with all that coming into place, then only I think they will be, more courageous to launch, something more so mainstream like ETF, because ETF would then allow any retail investors to easily invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and that will be huge for cryptocurrencies. So I think the government is just trying to be more careful. 1% Bitcoin, 99% cash portfolio outperforms gold, bonds, S&P 500. So there is a Twitter user called Plan B. He has done analysis that shows that you just need 1% BTC in your portfolio, and then you can outperform the S&P 500. But so this data, meanwhile, is encouraging for crypto overall and increasing the awareness for investors who care about returns. But I think they should also make it more credible by putting what is that timeline of their data, right? Because there's no time period. We don't know what how far back the data was used. It's hard for anyone else to independently check this data. So I take it with a pinch of salt. So I wish, right, he can actually come up with say what is the source, what's the time period of the data. South Korean's crypto exchange Bithumb launches ODC platform. So Bithumb is a very prominent crypto exchange from South Korea that are now also joining the bandwagon of exchanges launching their OTC desk or over-the-counter. Over-the-counter is really catering for institutions because over-the-counter is for anyone or high net worth individuals, right, that doesn't want to go through an exchange because they have so large order size that they cannot go through an exchange and then alter the price as they buy. Yeah? But for now that they're going to launch in 5 markets, US, Hong Kong, Japan, Australia, Argentina. So US, Hong Kong, Japan, Australia is interesting. Those are the major financial center. Argentina, I guess, because they see a lot of demand there, right? Given the inflation situation there. And of course, not only they are the one who have launched it, Bittrex as well, Poloniex as well, and Coinbase also. And of course, you have BAT coming up soon, AresX, are all going to cater to institutions because that is expected to be the, the catalyst to catalyze the next crypto rally, right? And of course, it's also a good way to diversify their revenue because retail investors alone, the volume will not be large, yeah? Next, island nation Mauritius to begin issuing crypto custodian licenses beginning in March 2019. So Malta is doing really, really well because of their crypto-friendly regulations and their welcoming attitude. Now, the neighboring country Mauritius is also going to issue crypto custodian licenses, and that again must be following the footsteps of Malta. That's just what will happen naturally because, right, regulatory arbitrage will basically lead to where the thing flows, right? Next, you can now buy a home using blockchain technology thanks to Propi, closes 1 million deal. Now, Propi is a DApp, a decentralized applications launched on Ethereum platform. What they do is they allow properties to be purchased on blockchain, and that basically gives it a lot of trust, and with smart contract it can allow overseas investors to easily invest and at a very relatively real-time manner to be done, to be conducted a purchase, and then I can straight away have the contract in place and also link to even the utility companies. Yeah, and that is key. So they now have actually sold a home in San Francisco for almost 1 million, and that is huge. So all this news is just show the increasing real use cases of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, right? So it's no longer just something that it's no longer just something you want to buy a coffee. We already have moved beyond that, right? Because you have that coming in and that's going to come. So now we're talking about really increasing the options for investors, right? Because you can then invest in any properties anywhere now much more easily. And that just gives much more liquidity to the market, and also it can increase a lot of wealth for even poorer investors who now have more options they can invest in cheaper properties overseas. ICE-backed crypto trading platform hires 2 more experts. So ICE-backed, which is the Intercontinental Exchange BAKKT platform, which is supposed to make it easier for retail and institutional investors to buy, sell, store, and spend crypto. They're going to launch soon, right? But there's no official date yet. But they continue to give updates, and that shows that they're going to launch definitely. It's just that they don't have approval yet from the regulator, right? And they continue to expand their team. So they have Eric Haas, who joined from ICE as the Director of Compliance, very key role, and another person, Richard Ford, who will be joining them as a Strategic Operations Manager, right? Last one. Review website for cryptocurrency launched by Redditor to report scams. So it's very interesting because of the given increasing scams almost every day, right? Every other day about scams, that just although so much more development in this space, that is like you take 2 steps in front with each new development in the space, but each scam that is reported make you take 4 steps back. It's really that, because bad news often propagate more than good news. And that's exactly what happened. And shout out to Redditor, right? User Stella Row I12. He has actually taken it upon himself to create a website, something like a Yap website, that can have volunteers, everyday users, to give a rating and especially highlight, feature those scams, right? So that people are warned. And this is one central place versus, of course, people now use various platforms like Telegram, Twitter, Reddit to report about scams. But this is good. I think is a one. I think it is really good to have one centralized source where people can know about all the scams immediately as it take place. Yeah, something like the Bitcoin arbitraries. There's also like one place that if you want to talk about arbitrary, you go to there, right, to check. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I think and if you like this, please leave a like, please subscribe, and please share this around. And thank you so much for watching. And for new subscribers, thank you so much for your support. And wherever you are, I hope you're having a great day and God bless. Thank you.